In this week's episode of Hunter x Hunter, Hisoka and Gotoh finally throw down in the battle of the cards versus the coins. But first, a word from our sponsors.
You get it. Your ass is a major part of your life, and it deserves the same level of respect as the rest of you. And after a long day of mud wrestling and grandma's chocolate pudding, you want to feel fresh. And you can, with One Wipe Charlie's. I'd also highly recommend checking out their high-quality razor blades, which can also be shipped directly to you. You can find a link for them in our description box below at dollarshaveclub.com/SKG. And make sure to check out the One Wipe Charlie's. With their peppermint scent, they'll make your ass smell like Christmas morning.
I shouldn't have to say this, but spoiler alert. In this week's episode of Hunter x Hunter, there was an awesome battle between Hisoka and Gotoh, and it didn't last that long, and Hisoka predictably won. It was actually kind of shocking that it ended so quickly, because it seemed like Gotoh was going to be one hell of a threat against Hisoka, especially the way the battle played out, because in a way, he actually used his bungee gum against him, and that just shows that Hisoka can actually be tricked sometimes, but I'm not really sure if he was allowing this to happen, or if he was just sort of having fun with the battle, because, you know, Hisoka's kind of a weird character. He's kind of hard to read, especially throughout this episode. All we really know is that he's a psychopath, he enjoys killing, and he definitely took out Gotoh with some style this week. After having his bungee gum wrapped around his arms due to Gotoh's coins, spinning them out of control, he got rid of the bungee gum on his legs and just ran around the forest and actually caught all of his coins and sent them flying towards Gotoh. And this scene was so well animated, and I thought this was a moment when he might have actually taken over the battle, because he just started flipping out coins like a friggin' machine gun. But suddenly Hisoka comes from the top like frickin' Spider-Man and slices his throat with two of his playing cards. It's brutal, it's quick, and it's really stylistic, and it's perfect for a character like Hisoka. The death of Gotoh is probably going to rock Killua's world, and he's probably going to get really pissed off and want to get some revenge against Hisoka, but I can't really imagine where that's going. But that's all leading up to something big. But before we get there, you remember Tsuboni, the big badass granny? Well, apparently she has this power where she can transform into a motorcycle with her face right on the front. And this thing is fast as all hell. Makes Speed Racer look like a bitch. And what's really awesome about this is both Amane and Canary are able to go on this ride, and they're able to catch up to Killua at the airport. But he actually ends up tricking them and going off on his own little adventure on their blimp. And that leads us to the most interesting part at the end of this week's episode, aside from, of course, the badass Hisoka-Gotoh fight, is that Hisoka and Illumi are getting ready to go to the city where the Hunter election is going down, and somehow they've actually managed to make both of these stories convergent to each other at once, because there's those three candidates who have now teamed up together, and they're actually going to be working with Morel, who was contacted by Killua, and they've got this group of hunters who are going to try and hunt down Illumi and all of the people that he has taken control of with his Needleman ability. And that's something that we saw in the previous episode, and we've seen, like, throughout the entire series, he has this, like, sort of fascination with these needles, which he can use in a number of ways, whether it means altering his face to look like someone else, or actually literally controlling someone by throwing it into their friggin' head. And he has this army of zombified people which look absolutely hilarious when they start running after Killua, especially because they don't have any sort of solid footing at all. They're just all like gangly and shit. These three different hunters who have formed an alliance consider themselves on par with Chairman Netero's original group, which was known as the Seiren, and they've never been brought up before, and I'm guessing it's just another group of badass old dudes, which they haven't even talked about yet. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Hunter x Hunter? It was awesome. It was just a really well-paced episode. It had like a roller coaster of emotions and badassery and action scenes and old buff grannies transforming into motorcycles. That sounds really weird when you say it out loud, but that's what happened this week, and it was awesome. And if you're able to accept that ridiculous anime logic, you're going to enjoy this week's episode. Not to mention the beginning battle between Hisoka and Gotoh was really well done, even though it was very short-lived. And my favorite thing about the battle is, even though Hisoka won and he pretty much just dominated at the end, Gotoh put him up against the wall a little bit, and he actually messed with him a little bit when he actually flipped those coins and spun them around and actually turned his bungee gum into an actual weapon against Hisoka. And I thought that was really creative and awesome, and it's also like a good clue to show how they're going to be able to fight against him and fight against his bungee gum later in the future, because even though Hisoka is, like, he's helped out the characters, he's definitely a villain at the same time. I mean, look at what he did this week. He sliced that dude up, which is really surprising and, like I said, is going to have massive repercussions for Killua, because the dude's just not going to sit on that. He's going to be pissed about it, and he's probably going to go after Hisoka, and no doubt they're going to run into each other again. I mean, in next week's episode from the preview, it looks like him and Illumi are going to run into each other. Otherwise, everything else this week was really great. Like I said, the Subone transforming into the motorcycle stuff. You got to see a more human side of Amane when they were at the airport, which was a very funny scene. Not to mention the animation, the artwork, the voice acting, the music was really appropriate. Everything just pretty much worked this week. It was a little slow-paced in the middle of the episode, but overall, everything here worked, and it's got me really excited for the rest of the arc, because I love that now both stories are converging to each other. I can't wait to see what the end result of that is going to be. And I can't wait to see what's going to happen to Gon. I know eventually he's going to have to come back. They can't kill off the main character that easily. And I want to see a little bit more from Jing and the Zodiacs, and I want to learn a little bit more about Netaro's old group. There are so many things about this arc that are really interesting, and it's still just at the very beginning of it. So, check it out, guys. This is a 9 out of 10 from me. Really great episode. Thank you guys for watching my review today. Before you leave, make sure to hit that like button so you can give this video a thumbs up. And make sure to tell me what you thought about this week's episode of Hunter x Hunter. What did you think about the battle with Hisoka and Gotoh? And what do you think Killua is going to do when he runs into Illumi? And make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That way you can see all of our latest anime and manga reviews. And you can also check us out on Facebook and on Twitter. I'll put links for those in the description box below.
Do you like Amazon.com? I know I do. Corey and I now have an Amazon link in our video description box below. And if you go to it and buy anything through Amazon.com, it will support our channel. So bookmark that link, make it happen, and support our channel without having to do a damn thing.
Another great way you guys can help support our channel is by donating directly through our PayPal link in the description box below. We recommend $2 a month, although this is completely optional. But the best way to go about this is by sneaking into your mom's room and taking $2. This way, she won't even notice. And we won't have to shake you up for all of your lunch money. So guys, that concludes this review today. Super Kami Guru 9000. Out.